What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 207 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for November 15th, 2017. I'm Graham GSM Matthews on the eve of one's birthday, who will be joining me here today for the first time. Well, I mean, he was on the 200th episode, but for the first time for a full episode in a year and a fucking half, almost exactly. We got Mr. Marceau. How you doing today, RJ?
I'm doing very good today, GSM.
Joining me on Hashtag AskGSM, we were originally planning just to have you on Wrestle Rant Radio, but I threw out the idea to have you here on the show. Just kind of came together at the last minute, so we got all the questions in here for you. It's not Hashtag AskGSM today. Today it's Hashtag AskRJ, so welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
I know you're technically, it's kind of fitting too, because we had the Ric Flair special last week, and the guy's retired 5 times, and you've technically retired from the show a couple times, and yet you're back. Here we are, a year and a half later. But nonetheless, before we get started, if people want to send in questions, they can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Now with 280 characters, so now your questions can now be longer than they were before. Double the text. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. By dropping a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but not least, people can drop a comment down below in the comment section. I'll include their question in next week's edition. So without further ado, let's get started here. From WeAreAP450 from YouTube. If you had to pick one, would you rather see William Regal become world champ after he won King of the Ring back in 2008, or see 205 Live in front of Full Sail? Now, obviously that question was directed at me because this is an easy answer. I would have Regal win the world title in 08. I could not give two shits about 205 Live. Putting it in front of Full Sail at this point, in my opinion, it might still work, but we are so far removed from that show meaning something, I'm not sure it would make a difference. But RJ, what would you do? Put the world title on Regal in 08 after he won King of the Ring when he was getting that red hot push, or put 205 Live in front of Full Sail?
Easily put 205 at Full Sail.
I figured you wouldn't give a shit about Regal, but I figured I'd ask anyway.
Yeah, I don't really care that much about when Regal said to go with the 205 Live.
Captain Sunshine from YouTube. How did Braun Strowman, RJ's favorite, not stand up after the power slam through the ring on Raw and roar before the show went off the air? He landed on Kane. Why would that spot knock him out more than collapsing the ring superplexing Big Show? This is one of those things that will look better in a stylized video package more than it did in real time. I think at least Kane didn't chokeslam him a bunch and pin him like he did Finn in the entire Shield. So what were your thoughts on the ending of Raw this week, essentially, RJ?
I thought it was a good ending. I can see where I think Captain Sunshine's coming with on this question. I don't know. They kind of they mix his booking up sometimes. He'll something catastrophic will happen, but he'll get up. He got out of that ambulance when Roman Reigns crashed it.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to the ring and can't get up. So maybe it's just a suspense thing, and I saw that they did that on the Raw, on their YouTube channel. They have the exclusive of Raw, but I don't know, it is kind of weird, but it's kind of nitpick. I really don't mind it.
Yeah, it didn't really bother me. The only thing that, not bothered me, but the only thing that I didn't really understand about it was that it had literally nothing to do with Survivor Series. Now, Braun Strowman is on Team Raw at the pay-per-view. He will be wrestling. Kane won't be. Kane won't be at the event at all, as of right now. I guess he could interfere, but who the fuck wants that? So that really made no sense to me. I guess building towards a rematch down the road, God forbid the feud continues, but whatever. It wasn't really that big of a deal, and like they had said, at least he didn't pin Braun Strowman clean like he did Finn Balor and Seth Rollins and everyone else in last month for no apparent reason. Next question, can Survivor Series just end so I can be disappointed with the storylines in each show separately instead of them disappointing me intertwined? I don't even know the point of these Survivor Series matches besides WWE said that we're doing this and Stephanie hates Shane. So essentially, RJ, what are your thoughts on the brand supremacy storyline? And have you been disappointed with the storylines intertwining as opposed to just keeping them separate in the last month?
I think it's just stupid because back in the day when they used to kind of intertwine, they weren't really feuding together, and then they just randomly intertwined them. Right now, Strowman's teaming up with Sheamus and Cesaro, who are about to go through him with a garbage compactor. That doesn't make sense. And it just back in the day they wouldn't be feuding at the time, and then just join together. They had a common goal to attack Raw, or Raw attacked them, so then they came together, even though they had other differences in the past. But now they kind of just oh, it's November, we hate Raw and SmackDown, so then they just join together, and then on Raw they hate each other, but then they invade SmackDown together and beat the shit out of them, so it kind of makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's that same thing with Hell in a Cell. Oh, it's October. We got to have 2 Hell in a Cell matches. Oh, it's November. We got to have Raw versus SmackDown again. I mean, in theory, it's a good idea. But like you had said, prior to the month of November, we really had no bad blood between the two shows at all. And like everyone has said, myself included, like they just had fucking Raw borrow AJ Styles for the TLC pay-per-view. Now all of a sudden they're rivals. So, and I'm sure it's going to be completely forgotten by the time Survivor Series is over anyway. But yeah, it doesn't really make too much sense. But we'll talk more about Survivor Series as we go along here. Emmanuel A. from YouTube. I heard RJ was going to be on this week, so I'm going to reuse a question from last week. Was Triple H's reign of terror justified? For the sake of argument, I said that WWE was lacking a bit of star power during those years, and Triple H was one of the most reliable stars after others like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin started to leave and Chris Jericho's push underwhelmed. Does RJ believe Triple H's World Heavyweight Championship runs were for the better, or should WWE have put more faith in other guys like Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Chris Benoit, etc. to carry the brand? RJ, what do you got?
I was literally talking to one of my friends the other day and we were saying how RVD should have got a world title run in 02 and 03.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they kind of did. The reign was what it was. He did bury a ton of people. But they should have gave like Booker T a shot. He should have won at 19. I don't know what changed that idea, but he should have won at 19. Goldberg had like a 2-month reign as champion, which is stupid. Randy only had the title for like a month. They kind of, like I said, they didn't really give these other guys a chance. RVD, I don't think he had a chance. Kane was like red hot. Triple H cooled him right down. I don't know, like they had the talent. They just didn't want to commit. Maybe they just didn't think they'd sell, but like Kane was red hot for those 2 months after he was unmasked, and then Triple H beat him. So kind of cool if his jets down. But I think RVD, Kane, Booker T, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho all should have got a chance. Instead, they just kind of went with Triple H and buried half the talent.
Yeah, I had said the same thing last week. I mean, Triple H was reliable. He was a top guy at that point, had been for several years. But like you had said, Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Kane, Benoit. I mean, they gave Benoit the belt, but the guy was an afterthought for his entire reign, so it hardly counts. But they never really gave these guys the ball to run with, and they solely relied on Triple H. And as a mini Marceau watching back in the day, did you give a shit that Triple H was always on top, or was it like kind of accepted?
I really didn't think about the psychology of it all. I'm like, oh, Triple H he just won all the time, so I'm just like kind of like gotten like used to it. It's kind of like something like, oh, Triple H wins again, like always cheats to win. That's kind of like the same way with GBL, so I never really thought of it like that. But now looking back at it, I'm like, wow, they got buried like the whole talent.
Mini Marceau wasn't on the internet complaining about Triple H taking the golden shovel and burying all these young up and coming talent.
I was not. I wasn't on the dirt sheets.
You weren't on the dirt sheets yet. Their next question. It was the 12th anniversary of Eddie Guerrero's death recently. I started watching wrestling right after he died, and it always made me feel like I should have been watching sooner. I remember RJ wrote a list on Next Era Wrestling, good callback there, about 5 wrestlers who he wished he was able to watch in their prime, which were DX, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley, Goldberg, and Bret Hart were your top 5, RJ. So for RJ, was there a sixth wrestler he wishes he could have watched in his or her prime? And for Graham, what is one wrestler you wished you could have watched before you became a fan? So RJ, I'll let you kick it off. Is there a 6th entry to that list that you made about a year and a half ago?
Fuck.
That's a great question.
If anything, I want to see their prime, but I wish I was could watch. Wasn't really his prime, but when Rey Mysterio was in WCW and starting off, when he started off his career, I didn't get to. I would see that. I kind of saw the back end of his career. He had a good career in the WWE, but I never really saw where he came from. It's just kind of random. It was just kind of I didn't do real. I knew of his story, but I didn't see any of his old matches. And going back and watching now, he had a ton of good matches in WCW. So, if I had to say anyone, I'd probably be seeing his WCW run.
Good answer. I'll go a bit broader than that. For my answer, I won't say Rey Mysterio. I'm going to say Eddie Guerrero. I'm just going to steal that answer because that is the most obvious. But and I wasn't around at that point. I would love to have been a fan during the WCW days for the cruiserweight stuff alone, just to see how it compares to today. I mean, obviously we know it blows the shit of today out of the water, and it's really night and day. But it would have been cool to be a WCW fan back in the day before we had the fucking Viagra on a pole matches and all that other shit. Next question, also from Emmanuel. Have you heard the stories about how Triple H would complain in 2000 that Kurt Angle was too short to make a believable world champion? Apparently, either Gerald Briscoe or Pat Patterson, I heard it was Briscoe, but it might be either or, had called him out on this by publicly asking him to shoot wrestle Kurt Angle, and Triple H backed down. According to Dave Meltzer, however, Triple H would change the love triangle storyline regarding him, Kurt Angle, and Stephanie McMahon, where Steph was originally supposed to turn on Triple H and fully side with Angle at Unforgiven 2000, until he said that her leaving him for Angle was not believable. So have you heard about this, RJ, at all?
I have not.
The storyline...
Like I said, I've never heard of it. I'm not sure, but I could see it. Triple H is a scumbag.
I was going to say, do you believe that?
I could believe that. I feel like Triple H back in the day, I wouldn't say too much anymore, but back in the day, I could like he really wanted to be that guy. So I feel like if he didn't think it was right, he would definitely say something to Vince.
Yeah, I had definitely heard about that. Like, just recently, someone had been talking about it. I forgot where. Maybe it was Solomonster's podcast, but someone was talking about it, and I could not believe it. That sounds very accurate, because if you do watch the Angle from around that point in time in late 2000, Kurt Angle was another guy that was super, super hot, and obviously he went on to win a lot of world titles, but he was supposed to be with Stephanie if you watch like the programming around that time, but it was like an instant switch overnight because Triple H didn't want to do the Angle, apparently, so that does not surprise me at all. Next question, Elaine of the Y from YouTube. I wish they would make a bigger deal out of Finn Balor and Samoa Joe being on the same team being the team that won the first ever Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and that their history as a team would be explained, and why it's hard for them to team up now beyond Finn as a good guy and Samoa Joe as a bad guy. I also wish they would do another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. What happened to it? So yeah, with Balor and Joe, I completely forgot they won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. That happened 2 years ago. It might as well have been 2 decades ago. I mean, it was a cool little accomplishment, but even when they were feuding, it was never about when they were as a team. I mean, they would acknowledge it every once in a while, but it was never really the crux of their feud. So the fact they even brought it up on Raw, of all things, like if they were doing this now in NXT, that's another thing, but people got to remember, I mean, the fact they brought up their fucking feud at all is miraculous, because they pretend stuff in NXT never really happened. So the fact they never brought up the fact they won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, to me, hardly matters. In regards to the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, what happened to it? I mean, we had one last year. This year, maybe it just wasn't in the cards, because we have WarGames, and that takes up, 9 people right there. I'm not really sure. I'm sure we'll get it at another point, like maybe either next year or the year after, but yeah, it was weird that we had no mention of it whatsoever in the last couple of months. But RJ, any thoughts on the lack of acknowledgement of Balor and Joe teaming up on the main roster, and your thoughts on the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic not returning?
Honestly, like you said, I totally forgot they won it. I think I was looking it up like a week or two ago, just like to see it, because I was wondering, like, oh, they're gonna do the Classic again, or I looked up, I'm like, wait, Samoa Joe and Finn Balor on a team together? I didn't even remember that. It blew my mind. I'm like, I couldn't even. I think they faced Corbin and Rhino in the finals.
But, yep. That was a great match, too. No, like, it was American Alpha and Corbin and Rhino, not in the finals, but that was a good match, too, from that same show.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, I feel like they're not gonna, like, the ones that heel, ones that face, they're not gonna really. They really don't usually go back on that stuff. I'm like, oh, they team together and stuff, because it's kind of not. I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal to remind people about that. And I'm assuming they just didn't do it this year because the whole WarGames thing, because it's still kind of like, if you watch the promo, like they kind of like talk about Dusty a lot, so I think instead of doing the Classic again this year for Dusty, they're bringing back WarGames for Dusty, so that's why I think they're not bringing back the Classic again this year. Yeah,
maybe next year. Like you said, they're kind of doing this for Dusty with WarGames, so it doesn't really surprise me too much. If memory serves me right, from 2016 to now, and this is also from Elaine of the Y, Triple H has won the Royal Rumble, the WWE Championship, wrestled all 3 of the Shield members, with 2 of the 3 of them being WrestleMania matches, was the savior of wrestling and the 3rd member of the Shield, replaced Kevin Owens at a house show, Jinder Mahal's opponent in India, and the last member of a Survivor Series team. How come this new generation of wrestlers is not trying to grab all the brass rings that Triple H is nabbing? I mean, basically what they're saying is, why is Triple H getting all these opportunities and the new guys are not? Any answer, RJ?
I just think he's a bigger name. Like, what they've done the last few years, they just failed to make stars out of these people. It's the 50-50 booking that everyone talks about, but it just, like, who's going to sell? Triple H sells more than fucking Dean Ambrose or Finn Balor. Like, they haven't utilized these guys correctly, so he's just, like, if you put the championship on Finn Balor, no one's going to, like, any regular person's going to be like, who the hell is that guy? But people know Triple H. Like, that's just the company's issue, is they just keep doing a stupid 50-50 booking. No one gets over, and no one's special.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is... Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I said, so basically, no one gets over, and then at that point, there's no one to star, so you just keep relying on Triple H to keep being that marquee name, because besides him, the only other big name they really have is Cena and Lesnar.
Yeah, I mean, with Triple H, I mean, we saw it on Monday when he became the latest member of Team Raw. Like, are you more excited for Jason Jordan being on fucking Team Raw or Triple H? Like, the reaction was night and day. When they named Jason Jordan the last member of Team Raw last week, no one could have possibly give a shit, or they just booed. When Triple H was named the last member of Team Raw, people were super excited. Now the match is way better as a result. So, it's not really Triple H's fault. It's more so the companies, like you said, for not making new stars. And when they have a new star like a Jason Jordan, it's just the booking is fucking terrible. The guy's a loser for 6 months, and you want us to care about him. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't really think that falls on Triple H. Just more so the company's booking of the younger guys. Their next question: did you hear Booker T's deadpan delivery of? I guess he had said on Raw this week, "Kid just learned a lesson" when Triple H had pedigree Jason Jordan. And you could hear him add, "like I did at WrestleMania 19, if you listen closely." I don't think they're serious about that. But I want to ask you this, RJ. That's not really more of a question. I want to ask you, have you noticed at all Booker T, like, criticizing Jason Jordan during the matches? And where do you think that is leading? Do you think that's leading to anything? Is there a purpose behind that?
I don't think so. I think it's just like one of those like heel announcer kind of things. I feel like Corey Graves used to do that a lot, like shit all over the person that he did not like. Like Enzo, still to this day, just shits all over the guy. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's like in actual work or like they're telling him to do it, but Booker T more likely now has been more of a heel guy and just shit all over everything. I'm like, give it a fucking rest. Like I hate Jason Jordan too, but he just keeps dumping on the guy. Like give him a chance.
Yeah, he's not going to get out. I mean, I feel like he's only a heel for Jason Jordan, though, because I don't see him being a heel for anyone else, because Corey Graves kind of fulfills that role. So that's what I don't really get. But again, I'm not really sure what it's leading to, but it's pointless at this point if they turn Jason Jordan heel, which hopefully they'll do in the near future. Moving into the Facebook questions from Andre G. Should the main event of WrestleMania 1, should it have been Piper versus Hogan for the title? I think that was the original plan. I had heard that was the original plan to do Piper and Hogan one-on-one, but I don't know if tickets weren't selling or if the buzz wasn't there, so they threw an Orndorff for Mr. T. I forgot what the exact reason was, but I'm pretty sure that was the original plan. At this point, should it have been the main event? It would have been cool. I'm sure it would have been a better match, but they got a lot of buzz from Mr. T being in that main event, so I think keeping it the way it was as the tag team match, even though there was nothing on the line, I think is perfectly fine. RJ, do you think the main event of WrestleMania 1 should have been a one-on-one title match or the tag team match that we got instead?
I'm pretty sure it was the big deal because of the tag team match. They got like all the buzz, and since they had Mr. T and all the celebrities, I think that's what made it such a big deal, and that's what helped make the company what it is now. So I would have just kept it the same and kept it Piper, Orndorff versus Mr. T and Hulk Hogan. Yeah,
I'm not sure if WrestleMania would have been the success that it was without that match, so I would have kept it the same as well. Their second question, were you surprised about King Kong Bundy's 9-second squash match? I had no idea what this guy was talking about because I watched WrestleMania 1 maybe 2.5, 3 years ago. So I had to go back to the early WrestleMania cards to see what he was talking about. That King Kong Bundy had beaten, I think it was Special Delivery Jones in a 9-second squash match. I mean, King Kong Bundy was a friggin' monster, so was it surprising for the time? Probably, because matches would normally go like 20 minutes back in the day. But in retrospect, not all that much. Did that surprise you at all, RJ? Have you even seen WrestleMania 1 in full?
I haven't seen one match on the show. I've never shit to do.
Don't blame me there. This is a question you might know more about, though. Would you have put Kevin Nash in a match at WrestleMania 18, and if so, against who?
Trying to think. WrestleMania 18. I just think like everyone that was big enough to put him in a match with was already wrestling at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think who wasn't like wrestling that was kind of big. Hogan, Vince, Taker, Ric Flair, like maybe RVD, but I just don't like. That's not really like a good match. It's like the only other person I can think of is like Booker T, maybe RVD. But besides that, like, couldn't even tell you. Everyone else
Yeah.
was already booked. Like, everyone else already had a big match. So, like, he kind of just, like, got the short end of the stick, I guess.
I mean, the real feud there going into WrestleMania was the entire NWO versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, Hogan and Rock was the success that it was, so you can't really change that. But we got Austin and Scott Hall, which fucking sucked. The match was awful. And I don't think putting Kevin Nash in there would have been any better. Even though Scott Hall is in like terrible shape by that point. So I'm not really sure changing that would have changed anything. I would have kept Kevin Nash off the card. Unless you were going to do Stone Cold and someone else versus Nash and Hall in a tag team match, that would have made sense. But like, who do you put with Stone Cold? Because Rock was already in another match. So like you said, like Rob Van Dam, like I think he was wrestling Regal that night. I don't even really remember. But I would have just kept him off the card. No one was really clamoring for a Kevin Nash match at WrestleMania 18, so it didn't really matter if he was on the card or not. Mark S. from Facebook, his first question: what bout are you most interested in seeing at NXT TakeOver and Survivor Series, and what do you think will main event both pay-per-views? RJ, I'll let you take it away for the first question from Mark.
So for WarGames, I think this is a tough one. I think easily I'd have to say the WarGames match, probably the one I'm most pumped up for.
Mm-hmm.
But I think every match pretty much on the card I'm looking forward to. Besides Lars Sullivan and Cash Illinois, other one that's kind of just like, it is what it is. It's kind of like one of those older takeover matches, like when a young guy's just facing someone that's older and you know they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, I'm pumped for the Fatal 4-Way. Almost and SmackDown should be good. So I would say WarGames definitely most pumped for, and probably main event the show. And then Sunday, I'd either say the Raw vs. SmackDown would be the main event, and it's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Interesting.
Also Styles Lesnar too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, definitely for TakeOver, I'm gonna agree and say the WarGames match is the one I'm most excited for, and the one that's gonna be an event of the show. There's no question there. It's named after it's named after the show itself. Survivor Series. I mean, the Raw and SmackDown match last year was undoubtedly the best part of the show. The show sucked otherwise, I thought. I mean, you had to have Goldberg and Lesnar main event, given what happened, but this year it's different because you have AJ and Brock. I honestly can't tell you which one should main event over the other, but I mean, the Raw and SmackDown match has a lot of star power. Right now, I'm going to say Styles Lesnar, and that's the one I'm most excited for, but the Raw and SmackDown match is not far behind. His second question, an NXT TakeOver WarGames in the bout, some people reckon that Roderick Strong will join the Undisputed Era, or could a faction of Roderick Strong and the Authors of Pain be a possibility going forward, seeing as Paul Ellering can manage both tandems? Do either of these options interest you, and do you want to just see a straight fight, the way it's currently booked? So basically what he's asking, RJ, is do you want to see Roderick Strong join the Undisputed Era, or would you like to see a Roderick Strong faction with Authors of Pain, or either of those things, or neither of those things, rather?
That's a tough one. I'd probably just say keep it the way it is. I could see Roderick Strong joining them, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, I don't think it's like, I think let's keep it the way it is. I don't want too many members in the Undisputed Era, so I don't want to keep adding more and more members. I think it's good as it is now. So having Roderick Strong might overdo it a little bit, but I wouldn't be pissed if he joined or anything like that.
I mean, it would be cool. So when they had first teased it, when was it? I don't know, like a week or two ago on NXT. Like, it would have been cool if they had done it then, but they already teased it and he didn't join them. So at this point, it might be just confusing if he does. I think just leaving him on his own is fine because the guy's over on his own. He's a good babyface, so having him join that isn't really necessary. If you put Donovan Dijak in there as the heavy for the team, that would be cool to have kind of like the tag team, and then Adam Cole in the main event, and then Donovan Dijak can be like the middle guy there. I'd be cool with that. That'd be a good way to introduce him. But other than that, putting him with Authors of Pain, not really. I think Authors of Pain probably after this takeover will be called up to the main roster in either Raw or SmackDown, so it's not necessary. I would just leave it the way it is either. His third question, would you have made any changes to the Raw and SmackDown teams in the men's elimination match at Survivor Series? Not really. I mean, all the members of the team, it's fucking stacked. I mean, you have Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle, John Cena, Randy Orton, Triple H, Finn Balor, Samoa Joe. I think Jason Jordan would have been the only one that I changed, and they already did that on Monday's Raw, so there's nothing that I would personally change about the match. I think it's pretty loaded with star power on paper. What about you, RJ?
I would say the same thing. The only people I'd probably change are Shane and Kurt, but it's pretty stat as it is now. There's no one else no one else I think would. The star power there is it's just unbelievable. So I don't think there's anyone else I'd really put in it because everyone else is already in matches. It's not like I want like the New Day to be in there, or like maybe Rollins and Seth and all them, but I don't think it's like a big deal that they're not in it.
Yeah, I mean, with the Shield, they're already facing New Day, so they have a match in the card. The only two people I would have liked to see in this match was either Owens or Zayn, but SmackDown's team, like, who do you even replace with them? I mean, Bobby Roode, Nakamura, Orton, Cena, and Shane. I mean, you can't really replace any of those guys with Owens and Zayn. They'll probably interfere anyway, so it's not a big deal. I think I would just leave it the way it is. His next question, who do you think will pick up the win between Enzo and Kalisto for the Cruiserweight Championship at Survivor Series? Obviously, Enzo just won back the belt. Why would you change it again? I mean, they've already changed the title like fucking literally 5 times in the last like 2 months or so. So I would keep it on Enzo. No one gives a shit anyway. I just seen right before I called you, RJ, that it's going to be in the kickoff show anyway, so thank God. But who do you think is going to win the match, RJ?
I would assume Enzo, but I could literally give 2 shits less. The division's just a fucking joke. I'll just go with Enzo because it sounds better, but I don't care who wins.
Yeah, Sam. His next question, what would you have thought of the option of Goldberg as a free agent and Shane McMahon was injured and couldn't compete for Team SmackDown, so Goldberg replaces Shane as at the last moment? I had seen some people saying during Raw this week that Goldberg would be the last member of Team Raw. I'm like, where are you guys getting this from? Like, he wasn't backstage or anything, and I know they aired the 24 special on Monday, but I don't know. I would not have had Goldberg be the last member. It would have been cool, but at least Triple H is some sort of allegiance with Raw, and Cena's been on SmackDown before. Having Goldberg just randomly show up would have been fucking random as shit. I mean, the build for this match has just been very strange to say the least, but I mean, it would have been cool, but he's not going to get beat. Like, he's not going to get pinned, so what was even the point? Would you have Goldberg replace Shane, though, RJ?
I think that's actually a pretty good idea. I think that there's something. Like, realistically, Shane shouldn't be able to compete on Sunday. He just got the tar kicked out of him.
True, yeah.
But like I said, I don't like maybe he makes Owens go in for him or Zayn or one of them two. But like I said, maybe Goldberg. I don't know. But I think that'd be a cool idea. But I don't know what they're gonna go with. But realistically, he shouldn't be able to compete. But
yeah, I guess we'll find that on Sunday. But like you said, he just got the shit kicked out of him. Not only on SmackDown this week, but also at Hell in the Cell about a month ago. So the fact that he's already cleared to compete might be questionable. But we'll see. I guess they could always pull off a swerve at the last minute. And his last question here, could you ever see a double turn happening between the Hardy Boys and the Club in the Raw Tag Team division? I mean, the Hardy Boys aren't even around right now. Jeff is hurt, so I wouldn't turn the Hardy Boys heel if they were back because they're just way too popular. If anything, I would turn Matt Hardy heel and have him do something similar to the Broken stuff. But beyond that, doing a double turn of those two teams seems kind of pointless. Would you do it, RJ?
I agree totally with you. I don't think people would really. Well, the Club is just like no one cares about either team, so I don't think it would really matter. They said maybe turn the Hardys Broken, but Jeff's out. The Club is just I don't know. No one gives a shit. I don't blame them. They just don't. They did never help. Since the beginning, they never gave these guys any chance for people to care. So
yeah,
it is kind of what it is.
Yeah, at this point, I don't want to say they're damaged goods, but they're pretty close to that point. Like, I'm not sure if they're exactly Bray Wyatt territory, but I mean, I think that the breaking point was the Trick or Street fight a few weeks ago on Raw. After that, I don't know if there's any turning back. I'm not sure if they could book these guys properly as a serious threat beyond that. At Hardy DX fan from Twitter, last week on #AskGSM, you said Batista deserved a better send-off. Is there anyone else who should have had one? That's a good question. I mean, obviously, I don't know if RJ's going to agree with this, but CM Punk, he just left in a fucking Royal Rumble match and then got, he quit. He didn't leave. I mean, he did leave, but he didn't get fired or anything. I mean, I guess in some circles, if you say that, it's true, whatever, but I would say CM Punk. Beyond that, I mean, guys that had to retire prematurely, like Edge and Daniel Bryan, they had amazing farewell speeches. So, I mean, a perfect world. I mean, Edge had his last match at WrestleMania for the world title, so I think that would be fine. Daniel Bryan, I mean, to this day, his last match was on like an episode of SmackDown, teaming with John Cena against like Cesaro and Tyson Kidd. Like, who cares? So obviously Daniel Bryan, if I had to choose one, if not CM Punk. Does anyone come to mind, RJ? Is it who should have had a better send-off besides Batista?
Easily Rey Mysterio.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Guy was the last match in WWE was on a big, I think it was a Raw after WrestleMania 30.
Yeah, it was.
30, and he lost to fucking Bad News Barrett. Whippity ding dong, and then he left the company. He literally wrestled at Royal Rumble, everyone booed him out of the building. Wrestled in the Andre the Giant Memorial, no one even remembers that. And then he lost to Bad News Barrett on the show after Raw, and then he left. Terrible.
That's hilarious. He didn't even leave. He got released. I remember there was...
Ridiculous!
People got to check out the archives for Wrestle Rant Radio from like early 2015. All on iTunes, by the way. Cheap plug. But RJ went on a lengthy rant about why Rey Mysterio deserved a good send-off, like a thank you Rey Mysterio. But no, they gave him the old good luck in your future endeavors. Like, we released Rey Mysterio, nothing more. That's it. Just a guy that was there for fucking 20 years, gave 7 of his knee surgeries to WWE, and that's all they get. That's all they give him. So that was kind of ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
His next question, in both of your opinions, did Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker save WrestleMania 25? Like, is that even a question? I mean, WrestleMania 25, without that match, fucking abysmal. RJ knows my thoughts on the show, and I know he agrees as well. That match, that show, not quite as bad as 27 or 29, but it was an awful anniversary show. And there were a few decent matches, like I enjoyed Matt and Jeff in the no DQ match, but beyond that, that show was fucking a disappointment. So you take that match away, that WrestleMania might be one of the most forgettable of all time. So it absolutely saved WrestleMania 25.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I liked Matt and Jeff. The Matt and Jeff match was really good. The fucking Battle Royal was stupid. The women, Cena, Edge, and Big Show was terrible. Yeah, it did save that show. That show was bad, like really bad. But if they had that match, it would have been probably one of the worst WrestleMania. If they didn't have that match, it would have been one of the worst WrestleManias ever.
Not only could they have not had that match, if they had the other two matches that were seemingly scheduled for the show before changes were made, because that show was supposed to see Shawn Michaels face JBL, because they had been doing their thing for a couple months, so it seemed like they were headed to a blow-off at WrestleMania, and The Undertaker versus Vladimir Kozlov was almost the match for WrestleMania. So not even taking into consideration the rest of the card. If you put those two matches on there, that is easily, probably even worse than either 27 or 29. So thankfully it didn't work out that way. His next question, what would you say, this is a good question, I'm sure you're going to like, RJ. What would you say are Kevin Owens' top 3 feuds starting from NXT to now? So including his WWE and NXT runs, what are Kevin Owens' top 3 feuds?
I would say Cena. I'd say his feud with Cena right when he came up was probably, I would say 1.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really good feud. They had great matches, great promos. 2, I think Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. And then 3, I'd say just like from NXT and the WWE, I'd say Sami Zayn.
Damn it, you stole my answer. Yeah, I was going to say, I would put Zayn number 1 because some of the matches they had were phenomenal. But I mean, Cena as well. But I would put Cena and Zayn interchangeable for 1 and 2, then Jericho number 3. And he's had a lot of other good feuds, but I think those are easily the top 3. And the Shane feud was also really, really good. The Hell in a Cell match wasn't great. I thought it was good. But that might be an honorable mention as well. Next question from @AWS Media Guy. His question was, how happy were you to see Jason Jordan get pedigreed by the King of Kings? Because I feel like I enjoyed it way too much. Your thoughts, RJ, on Triple H pedigreeing Jason Jordan on Raw? Did he get buried?
I fucking loved it. Jason Jordan's a fucking loser. God, I fucking was so happy when he got pedigreed. What I don't understand is this company knew he was in NXT for fucking forever because he sucks by himself. So then they decided to pull him up they broke him up from what made him good. And then now no one gives a shit about him because he's terrible. The whole, dying bullshit, I'm like, can someone just come out and kick this guy's ass, please? Thank God Triple H came out and fucking buried this kid because he sucks. and I'm tired of seeing him on my TV, and he's just terrible. Like, he fucking doesn't belong on the main roster by himself, and they should just put him back on NXT because he's terrible.
I have missed Mr. Marceau's scathing rants, and I could not agree more. I thought it was a great moment. There's a reason. There is a reason why people went crazy when he pedigreed Jason Jordan. If that, not even that, it is bad. It is bad when Jason Jordan wins a match and then gets attacked, and people are chanting, "Thank you, Wyatt," who has also not meant anything in close to 3.5 years. If they're chanting "Thank you, Wyatt," you know there's something wrong there. So with Jason Jordan, they got to turn the guy heel. They got to do something because this is obviously not working. But people are like, "Oh, we buried Jason Jordan." It's like, dude, the guy has not been over since day one. As soon as they called him up as Kurt Angle's illegitimate son, he was buried from the get-go. He was dead on arrival.
Terrible angles again. That's a terrible angle anyways. I don't know what the fuck thought that was a good idea.
That buried him from the word go. So
Oh my God.
he did not get buried. If anything, it was a nice rub. Like, Jason Jordan is not going to get anything. He's not going to gain anything from feuding with fucking Elias Sampson, who I love, but the feud did him no favors. He's going to get a bigger rub from taking a finisher from Triple H. So I thought it was fine. He's not complaining about it, but I saw some people were, so I thought it was great too. At Jeremy8911, why am I starting to get the feeling that we're about to get Daniel Bryan, leading some sort of a give no fuck stable of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, maybe with Neville joining in? I like that idea a lot, and the reason I like that, not only do they have the Ring of Honor history, I'm not sure about Neville, but with Daniel Bryan, the guy's popular, so I'm not sure if it would be a heel stable, because Shane's popular too, but I would rather turn Shane heel over Bryan, because Bryan gets consistently the loudest reactions almost of anyone on the active roster. But I do like the idea. They were already teasing tension with Bryan and Shane. Having the authority figures feud is kind of fucking stupid. We've seen it all the time on Raw. That's what I like about SmackDown, that we don't get that. But maybe taking Bryan out of the equation and putting Owens, Zayn, and Neville in a stable would be pretty cool. And Jeremy had said, I think I saw him say on Twitter, that maybe while Neville's been gone, his Raw contract expired, and he's been working with Daniel Bryan behind the scenes to get signed to SmackDown. Like, I could see that being a thing, and it'd be anything to get him out of the fucking Cruiserweight division. So, I like that idea. What about you, RJ?
I think it's a good idea. I don't know if I put Bryan in there. It's just kind of random. I guess, he doesn't, as of recently, hasn't been really agreeing with Shane, what he's been doing, but I think it'd be kind of weird just to have him be as a stable. But I don't know. I think it's a good idea, though. I agree with that.
Yeah, especially if he can't wrestle either. There's not much he could do if he's not wrestling. So, and I don't want to see him do a stable only for Daniel Bryan and leave in September, which is probably going to happen regardless. At E13A from Twitter, have you seen Survivor Series 1997 and this infamous screw job? So he's not talking about Brett and Shawn. I guess he included some gif of Billy Gunn. He dropped a leg drop on fucking one of the Smasher, Masher, the fucking Headbangers or something, and he missed completely. And I guess it just recently resurfaced as a GIF on Twitter. Have you seen said GIF, RJ, by any chance?
I have not.
So yeah, watch Survivor Series 97. I completely forgot that existed. Bottom line, that show was awful. Aside from the Montreal Screwjob, which was the most obviously notable part of that show was just sucked from start to finish. Moving right along here, at Scarlet1 from Twitter, what has been the best and worst of 2017 so far? Do you think anything from Survivor Series or NXT TakeOver WarGames has a strong potential to join either category? To join the worst? It's hard to say. They got a lot of goodwill here with the fans of the Survivor Series build. The build's been back and forth because they've been changing the matches literally every single week. But on paper, the show could be really, 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 really good. So if anything joins the worst category, I'd be surprised. The best category, sure, like Styles and Lesnar, the Raw and SmackDown match, New Day and Shield, WarGames itself, I think all those things could join the best category. Last year, we had a very late match of the year contender with the Raw versus SmackDown match. I thought that was an amazing match. But aside from anything this Sunday, or this weekend rather, what's been the best and worst of 2017? Worst has obviously got to be Jinder Mahal. When they put the fucking belt on the guy for 6 months and he'd done nothing as champion, the matches are awful, the promos are terrible, he's literally dragged down SmackDown Live from where it once was. So Jinder's got to be up there. I'm not sure what else even comes close, to be honest with you. In terms of what's been best about WWE in 2017, just all the other crazy shit from, seeing Rude and Nakamura on the main roster. They haven't been used amazingly well, but seeing them on the main roster, signing Adam Cole. I mean, the Festival of Friendship stuff, you mentioned earlier Owens and Jericho. There's been a lot of good stuff in 2017 and some not so good stuff, but there's a lot of things you can include there. RJ, what comes to mind for you as the best and worst so far of 2017?
I'd say the worst, like you said, fucking Jinder Mahal as champion for how long he was brutal. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but the guy was a loser before and he's still a loser now. The whole Jason Jordan illegitimate son thing has been a fucking flop and a half. Bray Wyatt's been a loser since WrestleMania. I'm not surprised, but he's a loser, and it's been terrible. The whole Sister Abigail thing, and then they just act like nothing happened, and then once he comes back, it's just Bray Wyatt again, which is just whatever with this guy. 205 Live's a joke. Enzo's terrible. I'd say in the good parts, I think Carmella winning Mrs. Money in the Bank was good.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa Bliss's champion's been good.
Agreed.
Haven't had Sasha as champion, so that's a breath of fresh air, thank God. I was going to say Charlotte, but she just won it back.
Yeah.
AJ and Lesnar should be good. Like you said, signing out Cole's been good. NXT Brooklyn 3 was amazing.
Yep.
The whole show was great.
WrestleMania itself was awesome, too.
WrestleMania was good. I think NXT this whole year has been really, really good, especially with losing all the talent they did to the main roster. I think they've recouped very well. And
Agreed.
I'm probably more excited for WarGames than I am Sunday, but I think they're both going to be really good shows.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would put AJ. Anything AJ's been involved with this year has been really, really good. I mean, that was kind of the case last year, too. Having the Hardy Boys back is really fun before, Jeff got hurt, but the fact they're back at all has been a part of the best for the year for me. And also, how can you not include Braun Strowman? To me, the guy's been the MVP of 2017.
God, I forget.
He's been literally
fucking money the whole year.
Yeah, he's been the MVP of Raw. The guy has been the savior of Monday nights pretty much the entire year. So anything Kevin Owens has been involved in for the most part. But Braun Strowman, I would go so far as to say, despite the fact he never has yet to win a single title, which is almost criminal, the guy has been the best part of 2017, or one of the best parts of 2017 for me in WWE. Let's see. Next question. How would you compare Raw and SmackDown's respective quality in 2002 to their quality in 2017? RJ, I'll let you lead this one off because you were a fan in 02. So how did Raw and SmackDown compare today to back then?
I saw this question, so I thought it was a good one. I think now the talent-wise it's better, but just people cared more about everyone back in 2002. Like, even the guys, all the cruiserweights, like Jamie Noble, Billy Kidman, people actually gave a shit about them. Even though they weren't the greatest wrestlers or their storylines weren't the greatest, but people still cared about them when it blew them off the fucking stage. Now you have Enzo and all them. People just don't give a shit because there might be better wrestlers, or just no one cares about them. They just don't put enough stock into these guys. And I think back in the day they would focus more on the characters, and people would care more about the characters than they do now. They have way better wrestlers now, but people still give a shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's the biggest difference between now and then is the characters. On the same token, when people say we should go back to 02 or 99 or 1995, lest we forget, they had the whole Katie Vick angle in 02. I mean, 02 was a great year. It's one of my favorite years in wrestling, but it was by no means perfect. Neither is 2017 or 2007 or whatever, but character-wise, I would absolutely agree they did a lot better of a job of getting people to care. I mean, women's wrestling is night and day compared to back then, unless you enjoyed Tori Wilson and Dawn Marie facing out every single week over Tori Wilson's dead dad.
Great feud.
But yeah, it's very much different. And back then, Raw wasn't 3 hours. That's also a big difference as well, and you're not falling asleep by the end of it. Next question. Does RJ play any video games?
Yeah, I do. Nothing I don't have WWE 2K18, but I just pretty much play Madden and FIFA. And I do play the WWE games on my phone now. I play Supercard and what the hell's the other one? WWE Champions.
I didn't know you were in a WWE Champions. Is it any good?
Yeah, hey, eats on work time. It's perfect. That's pretty much why I play it. But yeah, no, I play both of them. Play both games. I like both of them.
Good
Eat up a
shit.
lot of time and they're fun.
Nice, nice. I know I was on that for a cup of coffee when it first came out, but I kind of fell off the bandwagon there. But I heard it. I mean,
You
it's still
got
going.
pissed that you got pissed because you had to get rid of people. You had too many cards. You
Yep.
wanted to keep everyone.
Yeah, I wanted to keep everyone. That's exactly it. If you were a wrestler debuting in WWE, what would you like to do between the following options? A. Feud with Dolph Ziggler. B. Feud with Bray Wyatt. C. Join 205 Live. Or D. Go to TNA. So, RJ, what would you do?
Oh shit. Wow, that's a rough list. I'd probably feud with Dolph Ziggler.
Oof.
I don't know. It's compared to the other ones, that's probably the best one I could think of. I would not want to go to TNA. I would not want to go to 205 Live, and I would not want to feud with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, TNA in its current form, sinking ships, that's an automatic no. 205 Live, you're just going to be seen as a loser for the rest of your career, so that's not going to work. And then Wyatt and Ziggler's a loser too, but Wyatt is just, the Balor feud was atrocious. At least Ziggler and Rude was a bit better, and they had better matches. Wyatt and fucking Balor was terrible, so I'm going to have to agree with you on that. If you were to watch a best, or a 5-hour best and worst competition of John Cena or Randy Orton, which would you choose? I saw that this morning, and I thought it was a really good question because it's tough. Because I feel like with both of them, they have like really, really good matches, but they also have some really bad matches too. Like with Randy Orton, you would have to get 5 hours worth of Orton and Jinder from earlier this year, or Orton and Wyatt at WrestleMania, or any of the other matches they had. With Cena, he hasn't had terrible matches in recent years. They're not like super, super bad. Like him and Wyatt was obviously not that good, but it wasn't as awful as Orton and Jinder. I'm going to say Cena. At least in the Cena competition DVD, you get Cena Styles, Cena Punk, Cena Owens, Cena, all these other guys from recent years. So I'm going to say the John Cena option, but you can't really go wrong or right, I guess, with either one. Which would you choose, RJ?
I was going to go with the Orton one.
Really? Okay.
Between 02 and 05, he had a lot of good matches. Recently, he's had a ton of terrible ones, but he had some good feuds back in the day. Like Undertaker was good, him and Triple H. Something called Cena, like when he had Cena feud, him and Edge, Great RKO. They had some fucking good feuds back in the day. I'd go with Randy Orton.
Yeah, I was thinking recent memory, so you are right to go back a bit to like his early days, because when was like the last...
Recent memory, easily Cena.
Like best feud that he had? Best matches that he had?
I would way rather watch Cena in recent memory.
Oh! I thought you were talking about Orton Cena. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, Orton trash.
I can't think of like any really good feud that Orton has had in recent. Oh, you know what? I'll take that back. This is a while ago, but the last really good feud that I can remember Orton having, him and Rollins from 2015. The WrestleMania match was great, but beyond that, good God, I could not name you a single match or feud from the last, like, literally 5 years that intrigued me about Randy Orton, because the guy's been a bum. But, yeah, from earlier on, he had a lot of good matches, so you would not be wrong to go with him. We'll finish up here. Number of questions left. I got about 5 left. At Brad Berdar, if you could pick one of these superstars to return tomorrow, who would you pick and why? AJ Lee, Justin Gabriel, or John Morrison? I thought that was a really good question. For me, I like all three people. AJ Lee would be intriguing with the current crop of women. She left right before Charlotte, Sasha, Bayley, Becky, and all those other women got called up, so seeing her against any one of them would be great. Justin Gabriel never really got a fair shake, but would people really care? Like, the guy's gotten a lot older. I mean, the guy's great. I love him in Lucha Underground, but in WWE, the guy would flounder and he would be lost in the shuffle. I guess you could say the same thing for John Morrison, but after he's really reinvented himself in recent years as Johnny Mundo and doing this stuff in Lucha and whatever, he's got a better chance of succeeding. So seeing him on SmackDown, maybe with like The Miz or something again, reuniting those two would be pretty cool. So if I had to choose, I would go with Morrison. What about you, RJ?
I was going to say that. I'd definitely go with Morrison. With AJ, she'd probably not get lost, but like there's so many good women that I would rather see succeed right now, so I wouldn't want her to come back. And then Justin Gabriel will be a 205 Live loser.
Pretty much. He'd be the next Mustafa Ali. Continuation from that question. Of the three wrestlers just mentioned, if they were all to return tomorrow and you had one place to put, if you had to place one of them on Raw, one on SmackDown, and one on NXT, who would go where? So like I said, Morrison on SmackDown, AJ Lee on Raw. She can help the women's division there, and Gabriel on NXT. I don't know if he would do well there, but I mean, he returned to NXT right before he left the company. They did nothing with the guy, so at least he would have a better chance of succeeding though. So that's where I would put everyone. What about you, RJ?
I would do the same exact thing you just said. I was thinking maybe AJ on SmackDown, but I feel like Morrison on Raw would just he wouldn't even be on the show.
Yeah.
So I would do Morrison on SmackDown, AJ on Raw, and Jason Gabriel on NXT.
Agreed. Next question, top 5 most anticipated matches collectively from Survivor Series and TakeOver this weekend. So for me, I don't know if this is the exact order, but I would put it pretty damn close. AJ Styles and Brock Lesnar, WarGames, the men's Raw vs. SmackDown match, Shield and New Day, and Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream I'm also really looking forward to, too. The feed's been really good. I'm sure the match is going to be great, too. And Aleister Black's a fucking star. Would you change anything about that, RJ? And what are your top 5 most anticipated matches from the two shows, like all together?
I would say the Raw and SmackDown main event, the following 5 would be my 1. Styles AJ would be 2. Styles and AJ, not Styles and AJ. Styles and Lesnar would be 2. 3 would be WarGames. 4, I'd say Almas and McIntyre, and then 5, I'd say Bliss and Flair.
Yeah, that should be a good match, too. I didn't really think about that. They just changed it last night. And I forgot the women's tag team match that we're getting, too. Natalia's not replacing Charlotte, apparently. They're naming her replacement on Sunday, which could mean a Paige return, which is pretty exciting, but I guess we'll find out then. Let's see. At the Wrestle Guy, final 2 questions here before we take off. His first question, do you feel Survivor Series is a pay-per-view that the card on paper delivers what we will expect it to, or will it be an overall disappointment like recent installments of the event? What do you think, RJ?
I think the only match I'm looking at, well, besides Enzo and Kalisto, looks like you'd give 2 shits, the only other match I'm like, is Corbin and Miz. Like, they've kind of built it up over social media, but I still, like, I'm not really bought in on Corbin, so I really don't care that much about him. And I just don't think the match will be that good. So besides that, I think everything else on the card should be really, really good.
Yeah, I think it will deliver. I mean, I guess it could be a disappointment. I mean, never count this company out for anything. They could take something super, super great and turn it into shit, so you never really know with WWE. But, no, I think it's going to deliver. I mean, the hype for the last couple of years has been well done. Like, I remember looking forward to Raw and SmackDown last year, but the show is a fucking abysmal. I mean, the fact that it's 4 hours doesn't help matters either. It should not be a 4-hour show. 2015 was terrible. 2015 was just atrocious. And we had the tournament to crown a new champion. There was a lot of, potential there and excitement, and it went exactly as we thought it would. 2014 I thought wasn't bad except for the main event. 2013 was just terrible too. Absolutely terrible. And RJ knows my thoughts on that. So I would think the show on paper has way more potential overall than any of the other events I just mentioned. Because overall it looks like a really stacked show. Like you said, Miz and Corbin, like the build's been alright over social media. But the match I don't think is going to be a blowaway. But overall I think it's definitely going to deliver. Maybe not show of the year, but I think it could be one of the best pay-per-views we've seen in a while, especially since SummerSlam I thought was terrible too, so I think it could be better than that. And final question, do you think WWE having to change up some things about the India tour and Triple H challenging Mahal instead of Mahal getting a rematch is a bad sign for his main event push? Not really. I mean, if you're insinuating that Mahal should have gotten a rematch in the tour, that's what I thought too. But then I found out AJ was never scheduled for the tour. It's a Raw tour. And they just put Mahal on the tour because he's an Indian character. So if AJ's not on the tour, then the WWE champion's not on the tour either. So it's not like he would have won back the belt on the tour like I thought he might, since he dropped it to AJ last week. So that's not the case, thank God. He could still win it back at the SmackDown pay-per-view next month, but he won't win it back in India. I don't know if it's a bad sign because the guy's facing Triple H, which is a big deal. Obviously, and then they were calling it the biggest match in India history for WWE, which very well might be true, because I don't remember many shows they've done over there. But beyond that, I mean, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we'll have to see after Survivor Series. He's not on the card, but it's not like he's facing fucking, Yoshitatu or Jack Swagger in India. So it could have been a lot worse, obviously. But I guess we'll see. If he's not in the main event of the Clash of Champions pay-per-view and he loses after that, then I would say, yeah, it's a bad sign for a main event push, but I think Mahal could do well as a mid-carder. They should have never pushed him as the main event guy to begin with. What do you think, RJ? Do you think it's a bad sign he's not going for the belt in India?
No, I think it's fine. Like I said, people make it seem like facing Triple H is like a demotion. Like, he's one of the biggest names in the company. Like, that's for him. That's great. If Styles is on that tour, who else is he really going to face? Like Reigns, maybe, but I don't think they'd have him beat Reigns. So I think it's fine. Triple H is good enough for me. I think it's a good feud, and I don't think people should really be complaining about that.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. If anything, it's an upgrade, because he was supposed to face Kevin Owens, which is still a big match for that tour, since Mahal would have been a babyface. But, I mean, Triple H over Kevin Owens, I mean, it's just not even a comparison there. You got to go Triple H. But that's it. That's it for episode 207 of hashtag AskGSM. One last time, if you guys want to send in questions, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And drop a question down below in the comments section on this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So, Mr. Marceau, we did it. First time back on the saddle, not counting the 200th episode a few months ago, for the first time in a year and a half. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, GSM.
Any last plugs for the people before we have you on WrestleRant Radio tomorrow?
None.
Check him out on Twitter. He's quite the king of the Twitter machine at RJ_Marceau, and check out all the archives of the Marceau masterpieces at Next to Wrestling.now. With all that being said, for Mr. Marceau, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. We'll catch your ass down the road.